as time goes on, I'm more and more convinced that if I had my own gym, because I fantasize about this sometimes, like, what if I owned my own gym? What rules would I have, right? I think that, like, one of the rules that I would have would be to, like, ban anybody from going to the gym in groups. You know what I mean? Like, I'm even iffy on, like, bringing a guest, because what I've noticed is when people go to the gym by themselves, they're pretty focused. They're like, in there, they're humble, they keep to themselves, they're considerate of those around them. They get in, they do their thing, and they get out. And that's the way that it should be. The gym is a tool to be able to perform exercises so that you can go home and recover and then get stronger, right? But what I've noticed is that when particularly younger people, and I've noticed that this is happening a lot more so with like high school kids, when they come, even with just one other person, but especially when they're in groups, like when they're like 3 people or more, I've noticed that it just becomes this spectacle for them. Like they go to the gym like they're watching the people around them as if they're in a zoo watching animals. And it's like all they do is they hover around. It'll be like a group of like 3, 4, 5 of them, and they'll hover around certain segments of the gym, like maybe 1 or 2 machines in a certain area, and they'll kind of just like look around. They'll look at the guys who are there who are more jacked than they are. They usually look like they never lift, right? They look like they're scrawny, and they'll kind of like whisper, and then they'll laugh, like the douchebag laugh, and then like they do that for like 2 hours. Sometimes they're there like for hours and hours and hours on end. Like, was it a week ago? I was at the gym, got there. I have pretty long workouts. Like, I'm there for usually at least 2 hours. And so I go in, and when I got there, there were like a group of like 3 guys in there. And, typical, I think these were probably late teens, maybe early 20s at the very oldest. And, really skinny. They kind of had the gangster aesthetic, right? With the Edgar cut, and I think, I don't know, you know what I'm talking about, right? And they're kind of there. They want to act like they're cooler than everybody, and whatever, they're doing their douchebag laugh. They're taking up space. They're just kind of being a nuisance. And I push through it, whatever. And I do my workout. After my workout, I go to the car, and usually right after I get done with my workout, I'm in my car, I'm eating. And so I'm in my car, I'm eating, and I'm facing the entrance of the gym, and I see that group of people going outside, going to their car, which is like parked, all the way in like the side area of the parking lot, kind of away from where most people are parking. They go to their car, and they're smoking weed. They got their little pen. They're smoking weed, passing it around. And then they're doing that for like 10 minutes, right? And then they walk back into the gym. So they're there. They were there when I got there. They're not actually working out. I mean, there's no way you can have a workout, that was actually productive and intense for like 2 hours, go outside, not even eat, and then go back in for more. Okay. At the end of my workouts, because I'm intense when I work out, like I'm there at the end, I can't do any more. That's the level of intensity. There's no way I can do more for at least 48 hours. Okay. So they're there doing nothing, taking up space. They go out for a fucking weed smoke break, and then they go back in. I don't give a fuck if you smoke weed. I don't give a fuck if you smoke weed before the gym. That's not even what this is about. Like it has nothing to do with that. But what it's about is like, why are they there in the first place? You know what I mean? You want to smoke weed? Totally cool. Fine. Awesome. Sweet. Why do you have to be at the gym? Like, why don't you just smoke weed in front of a mall and then go inside the mall and fuck around at the mall and then go out to your car, smoke more, and then go back into the mall? Why does it have to be at the gym where people who actually need to perform a function and might need the machines that you're fucking around on are there, and you're basically just an impedance to people trying to achieve their goals, right? And the reason that I would have this rule where, like, if I had my own gym, I don't know if I would have this rule, but I might have like social hours. Like, okay, you're allowed to bring like one guest between the hours of like 5 and 8 or something like that, or like 5 p.m. and 10 p.m., right? Other than that, like, you have to go by yourself, because like the reason I would have this rule is because those same people, when they're in groups and they're super loud and they're cocky and they have all this confidence, when they're in the gym by themselves, it's the complete opposite. They're looking at the ground, no confidence, kind of cuckish, kind of simpish. It's a completely different story because, like, when they gas each other up, they gas each other's confidence up, and they know that if they tell a joke out loud, their buddies are going to laugh and it's going to make them look really cool. Even if everybody around them's like, these guys are annoying as fuck. So it's going to like give them this like image of looking cool and cocky and confident. But like when you're by yourself, you don't have that option because you're just going to look like you're schizophrenic. Like if you're just sitting there by yourself and you're like, you start laughing and acting like an idiot, people are going to be like, should we call an ambulance? Like, is this guy having like a schizophrenic episode, right? But like when they're in a group and, all of a sudden they have all this confidence that they're giving each other, now all of a sudden they're a completely different person. So to mitigate that, I would say, okay, if you want to go to the gym with your friends, I'll have like specific hours that you can do that, right? And so that way the people such as myself who want to avoid those types of people, they can, they can schedule it so that they're at the gym not during those hours, so they can avoid people like you, right? And it's not even like everybody who goes to the gym with a gym partner is like this. That's the shame of it, right? So like if I were to have a gym and I were to have this rule, it would be unfair to those people because a lot of people, they go to the gym with somebody and they're actually responsible and they're not, super cocky and arrogant and annoying. But like all rules, usually they're made because there are certain people who abuse their freedoms, who then cause a power structure to create rules that other people wouldn't really need those rules for because they wouldn't have abused their freedoms. That's just the natural order of things, right? And I notice like gyms are just filled with these types of people now. Like, I don't know what it is, but I mean, I don't know if there's like something going on in the high schools nowadays. I know there's this like looks maxing thing, and they talk about like, how like, gym bros, gym cells, they're losers and that's cool. I don't know if they go to the gym. I think what it is like these kids, they go to the gym ironically, in their groups, there's 3 of them, 4 of them, 5 of them. Oftentimes they won't even go in gym clothes. They'll be in like baggy jeans, like street clothes. And they're clearly high as fuck, acting like, yeah, bro, yeah, and like they're in their groups, they're talking, and then, they kind of like shit talk, like somebody who's more jacked than all of them walks by and they're kind of like looking, they talk quietly, and then all of a sudden, bah, bah, they're laughing and like, it's like high school is for high school, okay? And I understand that technically high school never ends. It just kind of morphs. So like, whether you go to a workplace or whether you go to, college, like it's just a continuation of high school because high school is just human nature in a more clarified sense. It's a very clear cut representation of human nature, right? And then as you get older, human nature still exists. It's just camouflaged better. So high school never ends, right? But like when we're at the gym, can we at least like tone it down with the whole high school imagery? Because it's really getting in the way. Like if you want to be a douchebag, that's fine. I don't even care. Honestly, dude, I don't even care if they go to the gym and like point and laugh at people working out if they're doing it from like the perimeters of the gym. Like I'm not even like, even if they're looking at me and they're pointing at me like, dude, that guy's so jacked, what a loser. Oh my God, look how much effort, he's such a tryhard. Like if they want to do that, beautiful. I don't care. They can insult me. I don't give a fuck But as if they're doing it from the perimeter of the gym and looking at me like I'm a zoo animal, I don't give a fuck as long as it's not impeding my ability to actually complete my workout. Okay. I don't give a fuck what you want to do. But when you're in the middle of the gym, like, okay, the last time I was at the gym, this is what kind of like, this is what inspired this video. The last time that I was at the gym, you know, it was the end of my workout and I had one more exercise to do. And it was pull-ups, because I always end my workouts with pull-ups. I do pull-ups throughout the entirety of my workout. I usually do it in between my working sets of other exercises, but I always end with pull-ups too. So I finished my second to last exercise and I'm about to go to the pull-up area. Like there's this like weird monkey bar looking thing. And it's the only way to actually do pull-ups. There's not really a lot of bars to do pull-ups on at the gym that I go to. And I kid you not, there were literally 5 guys at that thing. They were sitting, like 2 of them were sitting down in chairs and 3 of them were just standing around. And only one of them would intermittently do pull-ups, and he would do like a few, you know, reps, like, you know, whatever. And they'd all be watching him. And then like he would get down, and they're all like, it's not a big thing, you know? So like there were 5, and then there were people coming from outside joining them, right? So they were waiting for their friends to get there. And so I literally had to wait for like 8 minutes, almost 10 minutes that I had to wait for them to finally walk away from that fucking machine. They weren't doing anything. They were just congregating around this pull-up bar area. And it's like, bro, there needs to be like rules about this shit. Like there can't just be people in there willy-nilly fucking around, you know, let's just take up space. And again, of course, they're like, you know, the douchebag laugh, the fucking annoying, obnoxious behavior, being loud, blah, blah, blah. It's just, you know, and here's the thing, you know, I'm like almost 6'1", you know, I'm between 6 foot and 6'1", and I'm about 215 lean. You know, I woke up this morning with abs. You know, I look good. I'm strong. And I get a lot of attention at the gym, you know, especially I wear my cutoff. I start getting a pump. I get looks, right? And a lot of the times it's like positive attention. You know, guys will come up to me and be like, hey, man, you look jacked. You're doing a good job. That's cool. It's always guys, of course, never girls, because girls don't give a fuck. But, you know, they want like the skinny dude or like the fat guy. But I lift for myself, so I don't give a shit. But yeah, you know, so like, you know, every once in a while, like guys will come up and, you know, give me positive attention. But like, I also noticed that I am subject to like this shit talking too, because it's like, what I've noticed is like, if you're in good shape, it's almost like you're putting yourself on display to be judged. So it's like people like this in their douchebag groups, they find people who look good, and then it's like they think that they're at a bodybuilding show and they're like the judges or something. Like, oh yeah, you look, yeah, but he got some fat on him though. You know what I mean? Like, look, he's not like lean, like I mean, he could do more pull-ups than me, but it's only because he's been training more. You know what I mean? But he's not like as lean as me. Blah, blah. You know, it's like they always got some shit to say. You know what I mean? And these are guys who can't even lift a fourth of what I could lift. You know, like you could put me against like 4 of them in a boxing ring and I'm going to be walking out. You know what I'm saying? Like these are skinny, scrawny high school kids, or like, you know, maybe like 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, or like maybe 21, 22-year-old kids. Like these are not impressive looking people. Like they don't intimidate me whatsoever. But they want to come in and they want to shit talk. And it's not just me, you know, it's like whoever they're talking about. But you know that they're doing their douchebaggery shit because they have the douchebag laugh after they're talking quietly. And like I said, if they want to do that shit, that's fine. Just do it like around, like in the perimeter of the gym. You know what I mean? Or like maybe on the other side of the gym, you guys can bring binoculars and like, hey, look at that one dude. Hey, oh yeah, look, he's got muscle, bro. He's trying, dude. He's a tryhard. What a gym sale, bro. Like, that's fine if you want to do that low IQ bullshit. That's totally, I understand that there are going to be lower intelligence people on the planet, and I'm going to have to fucking deal with them. There's no way to get around that, right? And part of dealing with these lower intelligence people is compromise. So one of the compromises could be you can come in, you can look at the people who you wish deep down that you could be like. Let's be honest, that's what it's about. It's a little bit of jealousy in there. But you can do it from the other side of the gym. Just don't take up space, right? Don't occupy machines unless you know what the fuck you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, then go to the gym, but go by yourself, right? Figure it out. Don't be there with your douchebag friends because you're just going to distract each other. You're not going to actually focus on the lifting. And then other people are going to have their workouts impeded by your bullshit. All right? So just a little bit of a rant. I've been wanting to do this video for a long fucking time, like 2 months. I don't even know when the last video I posted was, but I have a little bit of time. Thought I'd post it. Why the fuck not? So yeah, anyways, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this shit, feel free to subscribe. Have a great day. Bye.